May 27, 1967 is a major date for Indigenous Australians. But what did it achieve? What did the 1967 referendum accomplish for Indigenous people? In May 1967, under the Holt government, Australia's Indigenous population were officially allowed to be included in the census. Many mistakenly think it granted Indigenous people the right to vote, but that right had already been put in place by the previous government under Menzies. The referendum was for Indigenous people to be counted in the census as Australian citizens. Prior to 1967, Indigenous people fought a long campaign to enjoy the same rights and benefits as their non-Indigenous counterparts. For most of the 20th century, Indigenous people were second-class citizens in their own country. After World War II, 1948 was the first time Indigenous people were counted as citizens in Australia. Before this, Indigenous Australians were seen as British subjects. The Australian government in the 1950s and the 1960s introduced policies of integration and assimilation for Indigenous people. During this time period, Australia was heavily segregated and did not allow Aboriginal people to enter public establishments without an exemption certificate. Exemption certificates were also known as dog tags. It was common for local newspapers at the time to publish the lists of when an Indigenous family was allowed exemption certificates. It is important to recognise this history because this is in our recent past. This was as recently as our parents' and our grandparents' lifetimes that this was occurring. And it is equally important to recognise the truth rather than misconceptions about this history. For more information on Indigenous voting rights, see our voting rights video or go to cis.org.au. For more information, check out the Centre for Independent Studies website. And don't forget to like, follow and subscribe.